Meanwhile, the woman who says she was called an effing black bee by a Shirley Rugby Club coach has finally received an apology. Theona Ireton was about to watch her grandson play rugby on May the 20th when a heated exchange erupted in the car park with a Shirley Rugby Club coach. Mrs Ireton says the coach racially abused her, but when she complained to the club, it said it wouldn't take action because the incident took place in the car park and not on the sideline. But the Canterbury Rugby Union thought differently and held a judicial inquiry, and 3 weeks later the coach has apologised for his bad behaviour.
For me, it felt like he was probably more worried about the club and everything else. That's what I read into it when I first read it. So, and then everything else upon that was secondary.
And no mention of racist assault in the apology there. Do you accept?
Just behaviour.
Yeah. Do you accept that he's genuinely sorry, given that he hasn't mentioned anything about the racial abuse?
Oh, Christchurch is full of ballheads, and so, he's just another one of them. I guess maybe after our meeting on Tuesday, he might have been a bit more apologetic, and he did want to have a say to me, in person by myself, but doesn't really mean anything now.
So you just had a meeting this Tuesday with him, did you?
And with the judiciary.
And how did that go?
For me, the Canterbury Rugby Union, once they got on board, actually listened and took this all really seriously. I guess for me, my contention has always been is him for the initial what he said, but then how the club reacted towards it and how they treated me through that process. They seem to be actually more interested in their 100-year-old centenary that they were having. And so any other thing was sort of put by the by.
Have you experienced this kind of racism before in Canterbury in sport or rugby?
Not in league. And again, this is our first space within rugby. I have heard stories about lots of issues around clubs being called and teams being called all sorts of things. But again, it's just stuff you hear. But, there's racism in New Zealand. I've grown up in a world where you couldn't get jobs because you were the wrong colour, and you couldn't get housing and rental properties because you were the wrong colour, and so it became it's a norm for a lot of people. What were
your first thoughts when you heard those words directed at you?
I was angry. I'm just sick of it. Here we go, another baldy, and I went out and wanted to find out what was going on and had words with him, obviously, as you do, and then it just got silly, and he was just angry and all the rest of it. But that is what it is. He is what he is. He's probably never going to change, and he's in his wee bubble, and that's fine. But if we can at least get our younger children, like my daughter's age and younger, not accepting it, and I guess 54, I'm not happy with it, but I'm very compliant. We've been taught to be compliant within our race growing up. We weren't allowed. There was no Māori or anything taught in our schools. If you spoke anything like that, it was smacked out of you with rulers and things like that with teachers. So for me to see what I have endured and how the teaching and everything it's changed markedly. And I mean, with issues like this new campaign that's going out, Give Nothing to Racism, it's going to improve more so. So hopefully when my grandchildren come along into the wide world of work and employment and things like that, looking for housing, there won't be any problem.
And just finally, Theona, is the Canterbury Rugby Union doing enough to combat racism? I mean, as you said, we've heard a lot of stories over the years of racist assaults being thrown at players and spectators.
Yeah. Has
the union done enough?
I think they're working towards They're working towards it. I mean, it's something that you can't just fix overnight. This is learned behaviour. This is it's intergenerational behaviour. So the rugby union have got this new chairman now, and he's got this campaign going I felt when I went to our judiciary that they were listening to us. They were actually acknowledging my daughter and listening to her too. And so I guess it's small steps. What I'd like to see is more understanding for people on grassroots, like the nannies and the cousins and whoever else are going to watch their children play, that if they hear that, they know what to do, what the processes are to make it easier for them, so that it stops.
That was Theona Ireton.